Discord. Welcome back to Total Freedom Radio with Rena Lynn, the show that's all about raising the bar of knowledge, healing hurting people, and spiritual warfare. If you're on YouTube, Brighteon, or Rumble, hit that share, subscribe, and like buttons, and maybe leave a comment. Jump on over to renalynn.com and check out my new book series, Prepare for the End. Click on a title and it'll take you straight to amazon.com where you can get a paperback or an ebook. Go ahead and leave a review so people will know you like it. And if you don't like it, drop me an email at askrenalyn@yahoo.com and let me know why, and we'll see. Now, I've got a great show for you today. I've got a gentleman by the name of Frosty Wooldridge. And if you've not heard of Frosty, I would be surprised. But he possesses a very unique view of the world, the cultures, and the families, in that he has bicycled around the globe 150,000 miles on 6 continents and 15 times across the United States in the past 45 years. He's written hundreds of articles, which is how I got to know him, for 17 national and 2 international magazines. He's had hundreds of guest editorials published in top national newspapers, including the Denver Post, the Albany Herald, Las Vegas Tribune, and Daily Camera. He wrote a column, Crystal Desert Continent, for a major newspaper in Colorado while he lived in Antarctica. And he has numerous published books, but we're going to talk about the information that he has in 3 of them tonight. We're going to talk about immigration's unarmed invasion and the deadly consequences, America on the Brink, the next added 100 million Americans, and America's overpopulation predicament, blindsiding future generations. Welcome, Frosty, to the Total Freedom Show. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm very well, thank you, Rena. It's a pleasure to be with you and your audience. And this evening, or this broadcast, I would really like to go over what I have witnessed in other countries around the world and what's coming to America here in the next 25 years by the year of 2050. And I guess we could title this program, A Perfect Storm Brewing Over America. And what does that mean? It means that the perfect storm is that of population created by mass immigration. And you remember that the Roman Empire fell because it literally allowed the Celts, the Vandals, and the Visigoths, and the Franks to keep coming down out of Europe, and they simply infiltrated all of the aspects of Rome and finally destroyed it. And I can say this from my travels through Europe, certainly in through Asia, the United States and all the American citizens are not ready for what's coming. And so I want to talk about the sheer numbers and the unsustainability of the numbers. And you can look it all up and you can verify everything I said. And in my 3 books, the first one's Immigration's Unarmed Invasion, Deadly Consequences. It was based on a Colorado Governor Lamb in a speech that he gave at a Washington conference that I attended back in 2003. And it was titled The 8 Ways to Destroy America. And it has become a poignant book because it's happening so much faster than anyone has ever thought possible since that speech he gave in 2003. The book came out in 2004. And then in 2009, I wrote America on the Brink, the next added 100 million Americans. And I talked about the numbers. And the numbers are enormous. They are unbelievable. And they're at a breakneck speed. Nothing like this has ever happened to any country in the world history. And then finally, in 2021, I wrote, and it was published, America's Overpopulation Predicament, Blindsiding Future Generations. And literally, I tried to get on 60 Minutes. I tried to get on PBS. I tried to get in front of Terry Gross. I tried to get in front of Scott Simon. Tried to get on all these NPR and all their programs, 60 Minutes, you name it, and they simply wouldn't deal with it. And so what the mainstream press has been doing for the last 50 years is shielding and keeping American citizens completely clueless and uneducated as to what another 100 million more people has added to the United States of America. And when I was a college kid on Michigan State University, my undergrad there, that Earth Day was very, very sacred to me, but I didn't have a clue until I traveled to China. And what's going on and what has gone on is that the mainstream media of America is not educating the American people as to what's coming and the consequences of what's coming. And so my three books really show you the Immigration's Unarmed Invasion, that 8 Ways to Destroy America, is mixing languages and bringing in multiculturalism and overrunning our carrying capacity and literally ruining the culture of America and the ethos of America by flooding. I think it's called the Cloward Piven strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Overwhelm the entire civilization with so many people that it simply can't function because it can't care for or literally sustain the numbers. And so right now, will the U.S. population reach 400 million? You better believe it. The United States is projected to grow from the current 340 million. And by the way, it was only 194 million back in 1965 when I attended college. And then because of the Immigration Reform Act of 1965, the floodgates jumped open and we hit 300 million in 2006. We're now well over 340 million with another 20 plus million illegal aliens. And the low water mark is going to be somewhere around 371 million within 25 years. It probably will hit the central water mark of 75 million, and it could go as high as well over 400 million. Some of the projections show 440 million. There's definitely going to be 400 million by 2058. You can look this up. You can go to the populationconnection.org, or you can just go to say population of the U.S. In 2025, and then go ahead and write in population of the U.S. in 2050, and it can go as high as 675 million before the end of the century. And I can tell you this, having been traveled through China with 1.4 billion people and India with 1.44 billion people, you do not want to be in a country that has so many people. That's why you're seeing chain migration coming out of China at a breakneck speed because they're escaping China. And India, again, chain migration, leaving India to come to America, but to create the same nightmare. So America is projected, again, to grow from that 340 million, but also somewhere around 20 to 30 million illegal aliens to that 400 million mark, whether it's at 2050 or 2058. That's where we're headed. And so you can choose whether it's 60 million or 100 million or another 140 million. Our country is facing unbelievable water shortages right now in 7 states. There are water shortages. And think about the numbers. If I can tell you what an additional 100 million in this country means, that is an additional number of people that will double the populations of our 35 most populated cities in America. And so do you think we're going to be able to water and feed and warm and house that many people? Because it means that places like New York City is going to jump from 8.3 million to 16.6 million. They're already a nightmare there in the state of New York, but the New York City is even worse. Places like Florida, right now at 21 million, is projected to hit 40 million by mid-century, give or take a few years. And the state of California, that houses 40 million right now, is projected to jump to 60 million. Virtually all of it is coming in because of legal and illegal immigration and their birth rates. So that's what's going on. And you can look this up and it will give you exactly these numbers. But at the very minimum, America grows by 1 million legal immigrants annually. Those immigrants birth 1 million babies annually. Additionally, Americans, because of what is called population momentum, add another 1 million babies annually, and that's additions over deaths. So that equals 3 million net gain per year times 25 years. to 2050 is going to be a no less than 75 million added persons to America. That's what my book states. Other demographers show even more. And so, how many of you listening to this broadcast are shocked? I mean, the numbers are shocking, and I've already seen them manifested in all my travels around the world. And so, what do you think we're doing about it? Well, my colleague, Dr. Albert Bartlett of the University of Colorado, made a quote, and I'm giving it to you. Unlimited population growth cannot be sustained. You cannot sustain growth in the rates of consumption of resources. No species can overrun the carrying capacity of a finite landmass. This law cannot be repealed and is not negotiable, unquote. What that means is if you continue to grow exponentially, like that's what a virus does, that's what a cancer cell does. It continues to multiply and grow until it simply kills the organism that it's within. So if it's a human being, it will kill that human being. If you have the same exponential growth, that exponential growth will continue until we outrun or overwhelm our water resources, our land resources, our soil resources, our energy resources, and certainly the resources that run this society, and it will collapse given in time. There's another quote by a man that I knew, Otis Graham. He wrote, "Unguarded gates. Most Western elites continue urging the wealthy West not to stem the migrant tide that adds 83 million new babies net gain annually to the planet, but to absorb our global brothers and sisters until their horrid ordeal has been endured and shared by all, 10 billion humans packed onto an ecologically devastated planet," unquote. Pretty sobering, isn't it? Rena, wouldn't you, just hearing these numbers, would you say that this is pretty sobering to you if you hadn't heard them before?
It is extremely sobering to me, and I have to ask you, what's the point of turning America into an overpopulated civilization where water, energy, resources, and quality of life are driven to exhaustion? Who's going to benefit by adding 60 to 80 million more people in America?
And there you go. And what I want everyone to appreciate is that your quality of life will be absolutely destroyed. You'll be in gridlock traffic. There's no way to catch up with the growth. Here in Colorado, we have potholes on every highway into Denver and out of Denver. No one can go camping or skiing in the winter because the gridlock traffic has people for 90 miles going anywhere from 2 to 5 miles an hour in bumper traffic, bumper to bumper to bumper. If you can't even get a campsite anymore in the mountains, and certainly you ski, you take your life in your own hands because there's so many people on a ski slope there. It's like a bumper car rally. And so what kind of a future will await American citizens in 25 years or even 50 years as to catastrophic climate destabilization that worsens with population growth? And what would future generations choose? If catastrophic climate destabilization or global warming is true, everyone keeps talking about how they're going to solve it, except there's no way to solve it if you add another 100 million people to the United States. And guess what, folks? We just hit 8 billion last year on the planet of human beings, and we're growing by 83 million new babies born net gain every year on the planet, headed very quickly, about 12 to 14 years, we'll get to 9 billion plus before 2050. Anyone listening to this broadcast think we're going to solve catastrophic climate destabilization, and i.e. climate change? The answer is it's going to get worse, and then it's going to get even worse than that. So I ask you this: what are the 4 deadliest birth rate nations affecting all of humanity? Number 1, Africa is at 1.4 billion and expects to grow to 2 billion by 2050. They simply cannot sustain that many people. Those Africans are going to be traveling anywhere they can, and they already are. We're getting literally millions of people from Ethiopia, from Sudan, from the Congo, and the numbers never stop. And here's the next deadliest birth rate. India at 1.46 billion grows by 16 million annually net gain as it heads to 1.55 billion people by 2050. No wonder they are chain migrating into the United States as fast as they can. China at 1.44 billion grows by 8 million net gain annually and expects to hit 1.5 billion by 2050, and that's even with one child per family. So, and some have told me that they've even released that, and they're letting the higher classes have two children, so they're going to explode even further. So, what does that mean for America? It means those citizens of those countries will migrate to all of Europe, all of Canada, and America in order to escape the population pressures. What are the consequences of adding 60 to a million people to America? Again, I'm going to say it. Think about our top 35 most populated cities doubling in size to a point of endless gridlock traffic, toxic air polluted skies, water shortages that cannot be solved, severe loss of personal freedoms. And the more the numbers grow and the more the numbers add up, your personal freedoms will be severely limited. Species extinction rates will accelerate, and life in general will degrade as the numbers rise. What kind of resource shortages will we face? There is an incredible book out there by a brilliant mathematician named Christopher O. Clugston. He's been a colleague of mine for over 20 years, and he wrote a book, and you can get it on Amazon, Blip, BLIP, Humanity's 300 Year Self-Terminating Experiment with Industrialism. By 2050, we will have exhausted all the minerals and metals and oil that allow our civilization to operate. And once oil is exhausted, there is nothing on the horizon to replace it. And then there was a young Walter Youngquist, whom I met in Washington, D.C., because I go to all these conferences. He's a foremost oil expert, and he said, and I quote, "As we go from this happy hydrocarbon bubble we have reached now to a renewable energy resource economy, which we must do in this century, will the civil part of civilization survive? As we all know, there is no way that alternative energy can supply the amount of per capita energy we enjoy now, much less for the 9 billion people expected on the planet by 2050. And energy is what keeps this game going. We're involved in a Faustian bargain, selling our economic souls for the luxurious life of the moment, but sooner or later the price has to be paid," unquote. And of course, that Faustian bargain will lead to the Hobson's choice. And for anybody who knows what Hobson's choice is, it means you have two doors that you have a choice to go through to solve your problem. And the first one is you go through that door A and you literally fall over a cliff with no parachute. That's door A. Door B, if you choose door B, you go through that door, you fall into quicksand, and there are no lifeguards, and you are going to drown in the quicksand. So Hobson's choice is not a very nice choice. So that's what we're doing to ourselves. C, water will be our downfall. When a third world person comes to America, he or she uses 2 gallons of water per day. Once in America, that number rises to 88 gallons daily for every person in America. We simply don't have enough water to serve another 60 to 100 million people. Rena, am I really getting sober here with these facts?
These facts are very sobering in themselves. What about our oceans and our food? What will happen to that as the population keeps growing?
Well, I can tell you, and I have been scuba diving since 1963, and I've scuba dived all the oceans of the world. And right now, according to NPR, that's National Public Radio, we have dumped 170 trillion pieces of plastic into our oceans. We add another 8 million pieces of plastic daily. It's breaking down into nanoplastics so small that it's now being eaten and incorporated into the fish tissue. And we're literally eating our own oil waste when we eat tuna or we eat salmon or we eat any of the fish that are out of the oceans. Here's another sobering fact. We have killed 100 million sharks annually since 1990. We're destroying the ecology of the oceans, from the reefs being bleached to death to 84,000 chemicals washing into the toilet and septic tank of the oceans. We're poisoning the marine life and ultimately poisoning ourselves. Well, what about our bee populations in America? We've sprayed so many chemicals on our crops and used GMOs that bees suffer bee colony collapse, and our pollinators are being destroyed by the use of chemicals like Roundup with glyphosates, which is now in most of our food chain. It's certainly in our wines, it's in our human breast milk, and it's doing incredible damage to our bodies and to our minds. Well, what about poisoning our groundwater? We already suffer millions of cows, pigs, chickens, and other farm animals peeing and pooping into the billions of gallons that are polluting and toxify our underground streams and water supplies. With another 60 to 100 million people, those poisons will wreak havoc on all of our freshwater reserves. What about America's waste problem? Right now, we toss 268 million tons of garbage and waste annually. Get that number, 268 million tons of garbage and waste. It's poisoning the land and groundwater beneath the landfills. It comes with thousands of toxic chemicals that don't break down. Such waste numbers will jump even higher with another 60 to 100 million people added to America. What about that Fukushima overflow when Japan's nuclear reactors spewed millions, if not billions, of gallons of radioactive waste into the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, everyone eating any kind of marine creature in the Pacific, but in fact, all over the world, eats degrees of radioactive particles, cancers, tumors of all kinds, organ failure. Can you imagine all those radioactive wastes being poured into our oceans by Russia and China and India and America and North Korea? You have to understand these numbers and this amount of waste is cataclysmic. Okay, what's driving America's overpopulation predicament? First and foremost, legal and illegal immigration drove America since 1965 from 194 million to 340 million. If we hadn't opened the floodgates, and because we average only 2.03 children per woman since 1970, we would have leveled off to a sustainable 250 million. But instead, we hit 300 million in 2006 and now stand at an official 340 million. And that's not counting the 20 to 30 million illegal migrants in our midst. What about the sociological impacts? We are no longer a nation with a basic Western European population. We've become a polyglot of dozens of different ethnic groups with dozens of different cultures, with over 430 languages and another 150 different worldviews. When we import different cultures, we cannot hold America together from the middle. Does that sound a little bit frightening to you, Rena?
That sounds very frightening to me. So, what is the environmental impact of all of this?
Well, first of all, I want you to appreciate what's playing out in the college campuses right now. You've got people that are promoting extermination of a different religious group. And you've got the chaos with Islamic actors literally wanting to exterminate, Jewish students. And they're cursing the very aspect of America.
Yes.
And you're looking at that same chaos and anger multiplying by another 60 to 100 million people in the next 30 years. And so you got to get a hold of this sociologically. It's a nightmare. But then you get into that environmental impact. As I've said, everybody screams about climate change, but not one single news service in America addresses the driver of climate change, human overpopulation. With every new person added to the planet, net gain, that person will burn fuel to eat and to warm and to produce goods. So humans face cataclysmic environmental consequences as to the sixth extinction session, now causing 100 species a day to die off forever. That's 24/7. That sixth extinction session is caused by humans. There's been 5 before that, and we're the ones driving the next one. The current extinction is most likely the result of human activity, especially over the past century. Scientists estimate 100 to 10,000 species, from microscopic organisms to large plants and animals, go extinct every year. And in fact, the great sociologist E.O. Wilson said by 2050, we will have killed off 1/3 of all the vertebrate species on the planet. And by the end of this century, a good chance that we will have caused the extinction of 2/3 of all the species on the planet. And so we're really we're really in trouble, because if we keep destroying all the animals on the planet, we ourselves are going to be breaking down the web of life to the point where we become extinct.
I agree with
Here's
that.
another one.
Frosty, let me
Yeah.
interrupt you just a minute. We've got less than 3 minutes left. I've got to get in a couple of minutes for my sponsors, and then I'm going to bring you back next week if you'll stay with me. All
Okay,
right.
that sounds great. And the key that I want each person listening to this broadcast, you and your children are going to be a part of this if you're alive by 2050,
Yes.
and it's not going to be comfortable for anyone. So I hope that you and I don't try to sell my books, but there's many more books out there to educate yourself. And just this little 30-minute educational brief that I've shared with you, very sobering and very real, and it's what's coming. And we need to change course if we're going to survive as a civilization in the 21st century.
All right. Let me go to my sponsors for just a moment. Oh, hit the wrong thing. Sorry about that. All right. If you're watching this on brighteon.com, the video, then it'll be built in under the video. You can click into this is brighteonstore.com, Mike Adams' store, and you know that he has stringent health I'm sorry, still thinking about what Frosty said. He has stringent GMO policies. It's all tested. He has no heavy metals. He has a great product. And if you'll go to my website, renalyn.com, and find this green and white label, USDA organic, and click in through there, one of those two places, he'll slip a little bit back to this platform to help me stay on the air. And also, don't forget to go while you're there at renalyn.com. Look out my Prepare for the End book series and start reading. Book 6 is about to come out, and I think you'll very much enjoy it. And a lot of the things that Frosty's talked about is coming in the book series because I like to deal, even though it's fiction, I like to deal with real life things. Now, Frosty, we have 1 minute left, just a little bit under 1 minute if you want to take it out.
A pleasure. And to each and every one of you, I wish you health and wellness, quality of life, and education for not only yourself, but for your children and for future generations. We must think about the future generations that are coming after us. I'm a 78-year-old man. I've had a great life here in America. I've lived. If you read all of my books or all of my adventures worldwide, it's been a great journey. I would like to see every American child and every American parent enjoy the same thing. So hopefully, this educational experience gives you the kind of intellectual ammunition that you can actually go out there and take action at your local level. We need recycling centers across this nation for glass and for plastic and for metal containers and all of the other debris. We need to change the way we're operating. Conservation extraordinaire. We need to
Frosty, I
stabilize
hate
U.S.
to
population.
interrupt you, but we are out of
Okay.
time and I have a hard stop. I'll see you next week.
Thank you.